Vin Bobcheck. I'm with the South Orange Fire Department, as you can see. I'm a lieutenant down there. I happen to be the president of the FMBA Local 240, which is a superior officer's association. You need my address?
No, that's fine.
No? All right. Well, I'm here today to ask the board to reconsider eliminating the executive officer's position in the South Orange Fire Department. This was a recent decision at a budget workshop held on July 21st. During that discussion to eliminate the position, the fire department was asked many questions. One by trustee Moore-Abrams, not to compare South Orange to the contiguous towns, especially Maplewood, because they are all bigger in size. I was very surprised at this statement, especially when the board, could there possibly be another South Orange out there? No. I traveled to numerous career departments throughout Union, Morris, Bergen, and Hudson County. And what I found is that no city in these counties mirror one another completely, not even South Orange. Some are more densely populated, some are not. Some are bigger, yet have a lot of park areas. Some are smaller. Some are more urban, some more commercial, and the list goes on. This is why the only way to compare the fire departments is by some kind of standard, and that standard is NFPA 1710. And that was explained to you also by the fire chief of this department. For all intents and purposes, for a community this size, 15 members are required to be on the scene of the initial alarm within the first 8 minutes to 90% of all incidents. South Orange Fire Department doesn't even come close to that number. At our best, we respond with 8 firefighters, which is 47 below the standard in NFPA 1710. We respond with 8 firefighters 13.5% of the year. We respond with 7 firefighters 24% of the time. That is 54% below NFPA 1710. Now 62.5% of the year, we respond with 6 firefighters. That's 60% below the standard of 1710. When I was interviewed for the firefighter's position 20 years ago, I was told by then village administrator and chief that I would be hired with 8 others because of the low staffing levels. At that time, there was a chief, 2 deputy chiefs, an officer in charge of fire prevention, which would be fire inspections, and 32 men on the line. They consist of 4 captains, 4 lieutenants, and 24 firefighters. In addition to this were the 8 firefighter vacancies. I was hired bringing this firefighter strength to 32 men. 1 had retired, dropping us down to 31. I went up to number 32. Needless to say, those 8 other positions were never filled. The chief at that time believed that he was doing a service to this village by not replacing those firefighters, therefore allowing the city to save money while cutting our staffing. In 1993, that same chief allowed the city, without a fight, to cut both deputy chief's jobs as well as the officer's position in the fire prevention, stating that these jobs were not needed and that he could do all the work himself. So let's just recap for a minute. We have 8 vacancies, 2 additional vacancies, and then another. That means 11 positions not filled. In the years to follow, some retired, some were replaced, but never on time. There was always a gap there, always a delay in the hiring. But those 11 vacancies were never filled. There were some close calls in the next few years. Then early January in 2000, there was a bad fire in Arnold Terrace, where we almost lost 2 firefighters. As conditions deteriorated, the fire flashed, and instantaneously their means of egress off of a roof were cut off by the quick fire spread. Luckily, one of our firefighters was able to grab the hose line and extinguish some of the blaze, which enabled the 2 on the roof to reach an area ladder and descend. January 19th followed, which is the day that South Orange, New Jersey was put on the map. At 4:33 a.m., 3 students lost their lives in the Seton Hall University fire on the 3rd floor of Bowling Hall. As one of the 8 firefighters on the initial alarm, I was disgusted that the South Orange officials failed to step up and back the fire department's efforts that night. They in essence said that we responded at full staff. That was it. Then unwarranted comments surrounding missing fire hoses inside the standpipes surfaced. This was met with this building, when was this building last inspected, followed by questions of our response times. There was no comment from South Orange officials at all. This resulted in the eyes of most outsiders without any knowledge of Seton Hall or the fire service to look as though the firefighters in the fire department were remiss in their duties, which could not have been farther from the truth. Remembering, when quoting 1710, the students, faculty, and staff are not even considered in that equation. For 10 months out of the year, you can factor in an additional 10,000 people. During the other 2 months, staff remains the same, student and faculty population drops, but athletic camps and construction brings many outsiders. Since that tragedy, it was clear to see the necessity for the South Orange to step up. There was an understanding between the administration, the firefighters, and the fire chief. The need for more firefighters and an understanding to get back to a minimum of 10-man shifts. The first step was to bring the Fire Prevention Bureau back under the control of the fire department. This meant to eliminate the one South Orange retired fire captain working part-time out of a building department, out of our building department. That clearly was not the answer. 4 firefighters were promoted to bring the officer level to 12 to provide this service. All became certified fire inspectors to inspect all buildings, including Seton Hall, while also doing their day-to-day routine and responding to emergencies. This move saves the city roughly $200,000 a year when compared to other communities. Prior to 2001, it was unclear how many inspections were completed due to the poor record keeping by those numbers. Due to the poor record keeping. But those numbers are nowhere near the 600 annual fire inspections and 120 life hazard use inspections that are done each year by this department. The problem again was that although we took additional duties on, the firefighter positions were never replaced. So getting back to staffing, prior to the Seton Hall fire, we were at 11 positions short. After that, 2 more retired. One was an 18-year veteran injured searching a house during a fire who could not come back to the job due to the severity of his injury. Now we're up to 13 vacancies. In an effort to move towards increasing our roll calls, we hired 5 new hires. That dropped our vacancies down to 8. However, unfilled due to 2 more retirees and another one injured and forced to retire, brings us right back to the number 11. Over 25 years ago, this department responded to 600 annual emergencies. Today, with less staffing, we respond on 1,800 emergencies annually. You were just given a brief history of the fire department cuts, which is how we are at the staffing levels today. The current BOT should have taken this into consideration, but they didn't. They felt that an across-the-board cut in every department was fair. Last year, when there was a $300,000 shortfall, 2/3 of that was made up by 2 positions not filled in the fire department. That's far from fair across the board. In fact, today we operate at less staffing than we had prior to the Seton Hall fire. It makes no difference to me if you want to cut firefighters or the executive officer. This city has saved enough on the backs of the firefighters. If some out there think that this is just a union stance, I urge you to take the time to look at NFPA 1710. Anyone on the board can contact me at the fire department at any time, or better yet, ask the fire chief to respond. I'll bet you he'll echo the same words. NFPA 17 is a recommendation based on history and tragedy in the United States, and it is the most widely accepted standard on all aspects of firefighting in this country. Those who fail to recognize history are doomed to repeat it. South Orange has a fiduciary responsibility as it relates to public safety. It is unconscionable and disingenuous to delude the public into thinking that they are getting the proper response for the amount of taxes they pay. Remember, you can fool the spectators, but not the players. Now that was part 1 of my presentation.